All right, y'all, we're back with part 2 of scatter plots association and construction. So I got cut off on my last video, but we were talking about what type of association was here and how this answer is correct or not correct, or if there is a positive association and no association, and explaining into detail why, not how it is or isn't. My bad. Okay, so number 3, it says the number of ice cubes in a drink and the temperature of the drink. This is a negative association. And this can go 2 ways. The more ice will result in a lower temperature of your drink. And less ice will result in a higher temperature because your drink will get warmer. Okay? That says less ice. Well, 2 words. That looks like 1. All right, so 4 through 7, we're using clues A through D to write the name of the student who created each scatter plot above. So I'm going to look at 4 through 7 scatter plots real quick and kind of get a general gist of what I should be looking for when I'm choosing the proper answer for them, so that these answers can be guided by what I know, as opposed to my answers guiding me to answer the question. All right, so this is going downward, and it's got a linear association, so this is negative and linear. Okay, I'm going to put neg, lin. This one here has no association. I'm going to put no sok. Here, this is also negative and linear. But I've got to have this look a little different from here. So let's talk about the closeness of the dots. These are kind of clustered. These are kind of spread out. So we'll call this strong. And we'll call this weak. Okay? And then this one's definitely weak. It's got kind of an association. No, because it kind of curves here. So I'm going to say no association, not linear. Non-linear. And I also need to put nonlinear here. All right, so I've got 2 nonlinears, 1 and 2 negative linears. These are weak. These are weak. This is strong. And this is kind of a strong association because these got clusters here. So we'll put strong as well. Okay, I think I covered everything. So now let's read about Annie and Julio, Blair, Rashid, and Julio again. So Annie and Julio's graphs show linear association. So that's either 4 or 6. Let's talk about another one that has linear because I'm not sure where to place it. B, Blair's graph shows weak nonlinear association. So this is weak and this is nonlinear. So Blair is last for sure. Rashid's group shows no association. That would be here because that's the only other one. See, Rashid. And Julio's graph shows the strongest association, so that would be here, D, Julio. And A would be here, Annie and Julio. Okay, so that's how we classify those, by their associations and the grouping or the closeness of the dots or points. All right, so number 8, Mrs. Dominic's class conducted a survey on the number of chores students completed and the amount of allowance they earned. Brian thinks the association is negative because they found that as the number of chores decreased, the amount of allowance also decreased. Is Brian correct? Well, let's think about it. As the number of chores decreased, the amount of allowance also decreased. They're doing the same thing. Brian is not wrong. or Brian is not right. He is incorrect. If the variables move in the same direction, it's a positive. The association is positive. Now, if one was increasing and the other was decreasing, then it would be negative. Okay, so Brian's not correct here. All right, so now let's go on to your homework. This is the part where I show you how to get the answer, but you have to answer on your own, and then it also needs to be submitted in Skyward by Thursday. All right. So we are constructing scatter plots, meaning we are making points. Oh, you know what? I need to do the notes first. My bad. Notes first. Okay, so constructing scatter plots. These are the notes. The next page is your homework. So we're actually going to be plotting these points. This is going to be my x value, and this is going to be my y value. Okay, so just looking at the table, that's what that info is. So let's read. Jared's basketball team stood at various distances from the basketball hoop and counted the number of baskets they were able to make in 30 seconds. Use the data in the table to make a scatter plot. Then answer the questions that follow. So this is like a real life type of situation. What is the number of baskets made based off the distance that these kids stood from the basketball hoop? So like I said, this column is X, this column is Y, and these are coordinate points, okay, coordinate pairs. So I'm going to plot 15, 2 for my first point, and then 45, 2, and then 30, 5, 15, 9, 41, 34, 10, 10, 35, 3, 10, 8, and 35, 5. Okay, so those are all the points that I have there. And now I'm going to put these points, this should be a 10. Put these points in my graph here. So I'm going to run 15, then jump 2. So 15, 2. 45, 2. 35. 15, 9. 41. 34. 10, 10. 35, 4. Oh, that should have been 35, 3. Whoopsies. 10, 8. And 35, 5. That 35, 4 needs to be blended out. 35, 4. Okay. So this tends to have a negative association from what I can tell. And as the distance from the hoop is getting higher, the number of baskets made is getting lower. That means the farther they are from the hoop, the harder it is to make that basket there. So it's negative, it's linear, and I would say that it's kind of a widespread set. But if they ask that, we'll make note of it. If not, then we won't worry about it for now. All right, so number 1 says, describe the type of association seen in the scatter plot. So this is linear and negative. Are there any points that don't fit the overall trend of the data? If so, explain. There's this one little guy kind of laying out here by himself. Yes. The 15 foot and 2 baskets made. Someone at 15 feet only made 2 baskets, whereas other people at 15 feet made 9 baskets, and then another person at 10 feet, or 2 people at 10 feet, made 10 and 8 baskets. So this guy should be up here. Maybe he just wasn't on his A game. So number 3, it says describe any unique observations about the shape of the graph. Is there anything unique about the shape of the graph? It kind of has a little gap right here. There's a gap between, let's say, about 15 feet and about 30 feet. And that's about it. Number 4, use the scatter plot to label each statement as true or false. As the distance from the hoop increases, the number of baskets made decreases. That is true. And as the distance from the hoop decreases, the number of baskets made increases. That is true. They literally are opposite or vice versa statements. Okay, vice versa. So then looking at outliers and clustering. Scatter plots may include points known as outliers and may display clusters of points described below. Maybe that's what they wanted us to discuss up here. There's a gap here, meaning there's some grouped as they're closer to the net, and then there's some groups as they're farther from the net. So we'll say 2 groups are clustered. We'll add that to number 3. So outliers are points that don't fit the overall pattern, shape, or trend of the scatter plot, and that's the outlier. Which player represents the outlier in the scatter plot above? Here's my outlier. And that was a 15 foot and a 2 basket maker. Oh, that was Jared. Okay. Jared was that guy. Clustering is when there are distinct or separate groups of points. Why do you think clustering occurred in the scatter plot above? Well, the clustering appeared because the closer you are to the net, the more likely you are to make it. Boom, done. Okay, so we know that if you're close to the net, you're more than likely going to make it. And if you're a basketball player, then the farther you get from it, you may not get your best work there. All right, so let's go to the next part. My video is going to cut off. So we'll pick up here on the 3rd part of constructing scatter plots. Stop recording. What happened?